Do you ever feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people, like something's missing? A deeper sense of connection, belonging, or home within yourself? In this episode, I'm joined by Millie to explore what it truly means to come home. Not to a place, but to your body and yourself through nature, somatics, shadow work. We unpack why we feel disconnected and how to reconnect. A conversation about belonging, self-acceptance, and remembering that home has always been within you. Welcome to You Matter, I Matter, a transformational podcast about reconnecting with what truly matters. I'm your host, James, and each week is an opportunity to explore a little bit deeper who you really are. With amazing guests, we explore topics such as purpose, connection, commitment, and what it really means to live more consciously. If you've been feeling disconnected from yourself, from others, or from life, you're in the right place. Join us on You Matter, I Matter. Now, let's begin. When you have a home within your body and a home in nature, you can never be lost or alone. Good afternoon, Millie. Can you explain more?
Yes, good afternoon. So this saying came to me last year. I was going through a really difficult time of my life at the start of last year. And there was a lot of questioning who I was, a lot of confusion around, am I good? Am I doing good in the world? Am I bad? Am I this? Am I that? And I was forced out into nature last year. And that forcing was the best thing that could have happened to me. So when I was in nature, I was doing somatics without realizing it and finding my body in the earth, finding the experiences that I've gone through in the earth. And in doing so, connecting so much deeper to myself, finding belonging, finding love for myself in ways that I've never known before. And it really made me realize that once I've got a home within my own body through somatics, which is what I do through shadow work, once I understand the community that is within me, and also similarly find that home in nature, find parts of myself, find places to be comfortable, I can't ever be alone because there is always home surrounding and within me, right? And I can never be lost because I always have something reflecting who I am back to me as well. So nature's been like a profound journey and something that I'm still very much on. But that's where that quote, I suppose, came from.
How were you forced into nature, out of interest?
Yeah, so my ex-partner and I, he used to live with people that for some reason or another weren't fond of me and how I expressed myself in the world, which is absolutely fine. But we couldn't hang out at his house. So from pretty much like the February when it was still cold, we were forced to be out walking, to spend time in nature, to always be outdoors, going to caravans up in places in the forest and stuff. And we had to be outside if we wanted to hang out together. So that's how I ended up being forced out into nature. And from there, we both went on like our own separate but beautiful journeys with nature.
I can understand with regards to belonging and never being alone. But probably about probably longer, less than that, a year and a half ago, it was the opposite. How did you get to that place of knowing that you're never alone, that your home is always where you are?
Oh, yeah, amazing question. I think, like I said, obviously deepening that relationship with the earth and realizing the abundance first and foremost that was around me. When we were going into spring, I was realizing, wow, there's medicine here, there's medicine there, there's things that I live by a river. And there was so much medicine around me, things that I've never actually seen before because I never knew, I didn't pay attention, I just walked on by. And so to see all of that and be like, wow, I can live off all of this. And then also to go through really difficult times of crying and just anger and grief and all these emotions. And in the same breath be held by nature. I might be lying on the floor and just crying, and she's just holding me. There was a time where I was feeling sad, so I went down to the river and I picked up some litter because this is my part of the river and I want to look after it. So I picked up litter, and then I sat and I sang to her, and I was just like, I love you, and how amazing that I'm sharing this river with loads of little beings and animals that are in it. And as I was just expressing my gratitude, I put my toes in the river and I started hearing this noise, and I was like, what is that? It was like this loud squeak, and I thought, I can't see anything. So that's like either a tiny bird that is really loud, or I don't know what it is. And so I carried on singing, and I looked up, and this otter just jumped out of the water, ran across the bank, went back into it. And I was like, gosh, like completely in awe. And it really made me like feel like, oh, this is my perception of it, was when I do something for the earth, when I look after her, when I show her gratitude, she reminds me of what I needed. Right. For me, an otter is very playful. It's very joyful. It's very community led. And that was the exact things that I needed to be reminded of in that moment. And I've had so many journeys like that with plants as well. Different daffodils, buttercups, daisies. When I've sat with them fully, I've seen my own journey in them. And from that, I've been like, if I love nature so much and I think she's magnificent and she has the same like journey as me, but slightly different, how can I not love myself just as much as I love her? So she's been such a beautiful mirror for me of, hey, there's a part of my journey in nature and I love it so much in nature. And so it's allowed me to love it within myself. And it almost unknowingly brings you a sense of belonging, of ease. Oh, I do belong here. I am at home. I am safe. So that's my little story behind it.
Yeah, I can relate to that. That's quite an exceptional story, how to connect kind of thing. But for me, I should get in nature definitely more, because I know when I'm in nature, everything changes. And like, to give you an example, I went through a 5-day short romance from a festival, and it ended. And on the day it ended, I just went into the woodland, and it came to me like, you know what? I'm going to do a 12-month journey on becoming a more connected peasant man. But it was from going into the woodland that the idea came.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it sent me on this journey. And then another occasion, more recent, is that this realization that being brought up on a farm, there's the old-fashioned way of thinking of farmers is they have to do work because otherwise they suffer and could possibly die. So for me, going to a woodland or going for a walk was a treat. But if I hadn't done any work, I wasn't allowed that treat. So I've had to change that whole perspective and that realization and understand that in nature, that is part of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. That's wow. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So with regards to nature, how do you personally connect with nature? Is it a whole?
Oh my goodness. So many different ways. Like, it really depends on the day as well. If I don't have much time, I am really fortunate enough to have a garden, and I'll go out there and I'll just put my feet in the grass and just watch the birds, because again, I'm very lucky. There's lots of birds around me, which are very loud and chatty. And even just spending 5 minutes out there and noticing them, it calms me down. We all know that nature is a fantastic regulator, so I won't go into that, but that's different ways. I'll go down to the river, I'll go for walks, I'll go to different places. Ervig is one that I love going to. But I also, like I said before, I'll sit down with different plants, even like the grass, the sky, and I relate myself to these things. So I obviously mentioned like the daffodils and bluebells, and I'll really sit and just honor that plant and find myself in it, and plant or anything really that is around me. And I'll start writing, and I do a lot of poetry. It comes to me and I'm like, write it all down. And through that poetry, I find an even deeper sense of connection to the plant and understanding within myself as well. So there's so many different ways that I connect. Even when I'm indoors, you can see that I've got plants here. So if I'm ever inside I still have those bits of nature that are around me to regulate me, I suppose.
The other day I went for a walk and it was windy and it was literally pushing me. And I just being there gave me this kind of realization that I could be so much faster on my path if I wanted. The only thing stopping me is myself. And that was me pushing against the wind.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like when you just think into it, you're like, there I am. There's my part of the journey in the wind, but in everything, like when you just take a moment to actually relate to it, it's, yeah. And you figure stuff out about yourself. It's incredible. So incredible.
So actually, before we jumped on this call, we mentioned how it's sunny out there the first time in months in the UK. It's so interesting how when it's raining or snowing, everybody gets a little bit down. And then sun comes out and everybody is just completely changes their attitude, their mindset. And it's interesting how when it's sunny and hot, I think it's almost to do with discomfort, because rain, cold, it's uncomfortable. We're used to discomfort, are we? We're used to comfort. Yeah. So when it's hot and warm, it's just as easy, it's just warm, it's just comfortable.
Oh yeah, gosh, honestly, I'm such a sun baby. As soon as I see the sun, I'm like, outside, tan me. I don't want to do anything. I almost just want to lie down in the sun and just be with it. It's something I love because you can really see the change in people. Right, winter, we're all very, life is hard and all that kind of stuff. And then as soon as you come out of it, I went to a retreat yesterday and the whole time I just heard this guy walking around whistling. And I was like, God, we're just completely different people when the sun comes out. But something I tried last year, and I'm still definitely learning to do it as well, was winter's so hard for everyone. And to me, winter is such a good reflection of our shadows within ourselves. And the parts that, like you said, we don't want to sit in the discomfort. We don't want to be in it. We want to have the sunshine all of the time. And the sunshine is a representation of good vibes and high energy and all that kind of stuff. And we often really want that. And something that came to me last year was learning to love winter is like learning to love yourself fully. Because we as human beings, not all of us, but a lot of us will reject winter. We don't want it. Give me the sun. And that is a direct symbol and mirror for how we reject those darker, colder, stickier parts of ourselves as well. So as much as I love and enjoy the sun, and I will absolutely 100% always be out in the sun when it's here, how can we get comfortable and start loving winter and seeing the beauty in winter? And how can that mirror and reflect to us as well what we need to love, just bringing a bit of life to.
Let's jump into can you tell us your story, please?
Yes. So my story, I went traveling when I was 18, chasing the sun, of course. And as we all do, it turned into a 4-year stint, Thailand, Indonesia, Australia. And it was an amazing time, and I'm so glad I did it. I learned a lot about myself. And during the last sort of year that I was in Australia, I became really stressed. It was looking for jobs. COVID had happened and was happening, looking for jobs. There's countless times that I thought, I'm going to be homeless tomorrow. And I started really getting very stressed and also not understanding how that stress was affecting my body. Someone could breathe wrong and I would start crying. It was like, oh my gosh, it was a complete overwhelm. And I also used to be someone who was like, I don't get stressed. I don't feel stressed. No, stress doesn't bother me. Very wrong. And I started getting a lot of health issues. I would start walking and I felt like I was having a heart attack. My chest would feel really tight. And I was, I think, 23 at the time. I'd lost my period, so I wasn't bleeding anymore. And I just felt numb, completely disconnected. My body was shut down. I was waking up, it was sunny, I was by the beach, I was skateboarding to the beach, but I was like, I'm empty, I feel nothing. So I made the decision to come home. And when I came home back to the UK, that was already hard because I'd ran away from the UK in a sense. ran away from my problems. So when I came back here, it was a big change for me. And my goal was like, I need to sort my health out. I got told I had PCOS, I got told I had a brain tumor and heart arrhythmia and all this kind of stuff. And I was just getting along with it. I was like, cool. You've shown me that these like parts, like the brain tumor and stuff, I was like, I'm not upset by them. I understand that they have come because I can't listen to my body, and that's what needs to change. I need to start building that relationship again with my body that we're taught from day dot. Ignore your body. It doesn't mean anything. It's just getting you about life. I was also an ex-gymnast, elite gymnast. So it was very much push your body past what it wants to go and ignore when you're in pain. And that's what I carried through to my adult life, really. And that's one of the reasons I believe I ended up with the brain tumor and the PCOS and everything else. So yeah, I then went on this amazing journey. I found Somatics. I trained in Somatics. And within that training, obviously, I was having Somatics myself, understanding my body. And it just healed me in such a beautiful way. Like, it got to a point where at my old job, I was getting stressed again, and I was starting to feel my chest get a bit tighter. And I said, hey, I'm just going to have a week off because I can feel my body's getting stressed. I know what this means. My body comes before work now. And we finally understood that, which was really beautiful. I then found Reiki, and that was so relaxing, so amazing. I was having Reiki done to me and for me, and also then I got trained in it. And I just think, again, it's such a beautiful modality working with the energetics. So it was with the body, it's with the energetics. And then last year I found shadow work, and that is something that I believe transformed my life. I was doing the healing with the Reiki and the Somatics. Shadow work has transformed my life. It's something that I just adore, and the relationship I now have with myself and my trauma, things that have happened to me, things that haven't, the parts of me that are unconscious, the random anger that comes up, and I'm like, what is that? I hold it with so much more tenderness and compassion. And it's magnificent. And again, like I said, obviously my earth journey as well came last year, same time shadow work did. So they've all interwoven so beautifully with themselves. And I'm just so grateful I found them all, to be honest, when I did. So that's my journey.
That's quite a profound journey. So let's start with the somatics.
Yeah.
Because you said about, obviously, your relationship with your body was non-existent to start off with. So how does somatics work, and how did you start to incorporate that into your daily practice?
Yeah, so in short, it's a body-based approach to therapy. It works with the body's wisdom, because there is so much wisdom there, as opposed to being cognitive and thinking about feeling. And it's actually, how can we just get to the root cause and feel that feeling instead of shaming it or pushing it to the side? And my relationship, it was such a gradual change that you almost don't notice it. You just begin to be like, oh gosh, I've got tender shoulders, right? What do I need to do? And you just start moving in a way that your body wants to. I also learned to start breathing, and that sounds very random, but doing deep breaths, there's a lot of shame around noise. I feel like in the UK, if I hold space for people and I'm like, and deep breath out, they do the quietest thing they could possibly do. And I'm like, you can make noise here. But I think I remember the quote, is it, let me see you before I hear you, or something like that. And I think a lot of us have that ingrained in us, is, oh, be quiet, be a little bit less, be a bit smaller than perhaps we want to be. And yeah, now I go out into even supermarkets, and if I need to do a deep breath, I will. And it doesn't bother me what people think. I've also learned how to communicate properly, listen to my body. If there's something going on, like I said, going into that and realizing that there's emotions that are getting stored in whatever parts of my body that there are. And it was such a slow journey. So I started really just orienting first as a part of my practice. Like I would get up in the morning, I'd orient to my space, and also as well orient to joy. Like, where are the parts of my life that I'm finding loads of joy? Can I focus on them? It was moving. It was a lot of shaking, a lot of dancing, a lot of making the most random noises ever, which would then also make me laugh. And I'm such a believer in our healing journey not being so serious, not being, oh gosh, we've got to get into this hard thing and it's going to be awful. While sometimes it absolutely can be, I more steer towards like, how can I find the fun in this? How can I liberate from this? How can I find the joy? And nowadays I just do so much micro regulation throughout my work with children on the other hand of my business. And you need a lot of capacity for that, because there are lots of 29 plus little humans who have absolutely no idea how to regulate themselves. You have to really find the micro regulation within you to be there for them. So just the understanding of my own body and how to be with other people, as well as myself, as well as the earth, is just, it's been profound with the journey of somatics. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate, because I think with the body, there's so much going on. So I think you talked about last time, you call it kind of parts work.
Yeah, parts work. Yeah.
I find, just sort of communicating with every part of myself. Yeah, because it is parts work. But it's the wisdom. The wisdom is in all them parts. So the anxiety, the stress, the anger, the frustration, the overwhelm, the joy, the happiness. It's the wisdom's there, but as human beings, we just see it as just an emotion, and that's it. We waver it off. I must be a little bit overwhelmed today. That's just okay. It's, if you go into it, quite often it's actually the surface layer is the overwhelm. Underneath it is a deeper, I was going to say more darker, but I don't think it's more darker. I think it's a bit more wiser part of herself.
Yeah.
And it's like intellectually we try to think about emotions and truth, trust, overwhelm. But if we embody it, I feel like we get a limitless pool of wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we are born, we can't speak, right? So our first language isn't talking, it's from your body. It's picking up on the energetics. It's limbic resonant, the energy, right? We as babies can only speak through touch and movement and sounds. And that's what somatics is. It's bringing us back to our first language, the first language of the body. And like you said, these beautiful parts of us that do come out sideways, that I truly love all of them. Same with anger or anxiety. Like you said, when you go deeper, there is actually a part of you, and more often than not, it's a part that is trying to protect a younger version of you, where something's happened, your younger version's got stuck. So then this way of being has come on top to protect it or avoid it or whatever it might be. And these parts of ourselves, they don't actually understand that we're now adults. So they're still trying to protect, for example, I use me. It's trying to protect young Millie that might be a 5-year-old in gymnastics who's crying. So this part comes on top, trying to protect her, but doesn't realize, hey, actually, she's a 25-year-old woman now who can do that herself. And when you show that part, hey, thank you so much for being there. I love you. It's okay. We can do this together. You completely change the relationship, because you would know we can't get rid of trauma, can't get rid of things that have happened to us or not happened to us. It's there. It's in our body. And I think that's where it can get a bit confused sometimes in the healing space. Everyone wants to heal and get rid of something. It's like, when you can't, you change your relationship. It's the community that is within you. All these different parts is a community, and all the work that we do is relational. I would never come to you and be like, change that because, you need to heal, so do this different. No, I'd be like, how can we relationally come together and heal from that? So I think parts and shadow work for me I think it's my life path. I adore all of these parts, even when they don't perhaps work in my favor. they're just doing the best they can with what they have. So it's incredible.
They're almost part of your tribe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're trying to look after us. They just maybe doing it a bit skewed.
Yeah. It was, I know from obviously doing the stuff, that I think there's a difference between what I've noticed recently is there's a big collective grief. Massively. The thing that I find is that the question I feel like I always ask myself, is that grief mine? Because if it's mine, why am I holding on to it?
Yeah.
And it's because quite often I notice, like at festivals, there's loads of grief, I think, sometimes, especially people on the path of spiritualism, they tend to feel grief more, probably because they're more attuned to it. But I feel like sometimes we hold on to this collective grief, owning it as ours because it gives us a purpose sometimes. And I feel as though, like working with dragon energy, I feel almost like you're probably just quite similar to myself in that we'll take on the grief because we know how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So we take on more than we can chew sometimes, but it's for us to realize, for myself to realize that it's not mine. I can burn it and let it go. But then at the same time, the stuff that is mine, that's part of my tribe.
Yeah.
And fight it in. Don't hate even things like racism underneath the surface. They're all ours.
Yeah.
Take it in, make it part of the tribe, because you try and push it away, it's just going to come back twofold.
Oh,
but if you embrace it as a tribe, you quickly become friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's completely it. I actually had a discussion with a guy, and I did an Instagram post about like the women community and women supporting women and how that completely coincides with feeling jealousy, feeling any sort of human emotion that comes with that competition, comparison, how these are normal human emotions. And the person I was speaking to was like, no, they're stupid. You shouldn't feel like that. And I was just like, that's exactly it. When you view your humanity as stupid, you push it to the side and put it in your unconscious. And we live out of our unconscious, right? 95+% of our life is us moving from our unconscious. Habits, beliefs, patterns, triggers, all of that stuff. It's from our shadows. So the more you shove it to the side, you're not ignoring it, although you might believe you're ignoring it. What you are actually doing is giving it almost this fire to come into your life in skewed sideways ways. And for example, anger, such a perfect one, because if when you're younger, your family member is really angry, you'll either not be angry at all, or you'll be overly angry. If you're not angry at all, you're then not going to stick up for yourself. You're not going to know when your boundaries are crossed, right? So every single, in quotation marks, bad emotion that we think is bad has gold to it. And it only starts coming out bad when you shove it to the side because it wants to be known. It wants to be part of your tribe. It wants to be loved. And that's what you need to do. You need to bring it back in. Hey, let's have a relationship together. Oh, I feel anger. That means my boundaries is crossed. I can feel that in my body. Let me go and feel that anger, come back and say, hey, this is a boundary and whatever I need to do to have this conversation with someone. But it's powerful. It's powerful when you bring people and parts into your tribe and just honor them for what they are and who they are.
You said the word unconscious, and I've been on and on this question for the last 20 minutes. But that's it. We can't change anything unless we become conscious of it. How have you started? Because obviously it's quite easy to be in that place of unconscious. And even though we like to think we're conscious all the time, we're not. So how do we get out of that phase of unconscious?
Yeah, I think the most important part, first and foremost, with shadow work and coming into contact with these is get a journal and just write down the things that have happened right in that day. So you might have had a trigger. Someone might have cut you up in front on the road and you might have just burst out in anger. Write it down. Become aware of these things. Like shadows are almost like it's jumped from A to Z and not done the middle thing, right? So you can't see it. So when you start writing down your judgments, your perhaps patterns in relationships, writing down these things and becoming aware of them, you just got a whole book of shadows. Here you go. You just got angry, didn't even realize, and just completely burst out. I was on the road the other day at a crossroads, and these two cars had started pulling out, trying to fight each other. This guy's come out the car and I was just like, my God. Number one, I was like, please move. I'm trying to get home from work. But also I was like, looking at it, these two people have gone into anger and shadow, and we want to fight. They would write that down. And even to the most smallest things ever. Oh, my mum said this to me and I replied really quickly and sharply and defended. Cool, shadow, write it down. And you don't have to go into every single one of them. I actually would say don't do that because it's overwhelming. But pick one. Pick one and be like, cool, let me dive into that. I felt this anger. How do I feel about that? Oh, I don't actually really like being angry. Ooh, why not? Oh, my dad was really angry when I grew up and I don't ever want to be like him. Cool, now we're getting somewhere. So just noticing how you show up in life and writing it down so you can see it.
Just quickly, just give us what's a shadow? Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, so a shadow is the parts of ourselves that we reject, exile, feel ashamed about. It happens mostly when we're children. So we are born 3000% authentic. We are absolutely in the world doing us for us. I'm laughing because I work with children. I just see it so well. And then I'm like, oh my God. But there comes a point where we're about 2 years old, where the people around us, our environments, religion, whatever it might be, says, hey, to be loved, you actually need to be like this and not like that. And so we'll adopt the, hey, be like this to get love and accepted and belonged. And we'll push aside the things that don't get us that. And the things we push aside, we reject, feel ashamed of, like I said, is our shadows. And our shadows are in the unconscious that rules our life, in short.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. But it's also the light that we can quite often push away, because you can see it in like concerts and football games, people idolizing pop stars and A-list celebs. And in fact, sometimes you can see them giving their power away.
Yeah, absolutely. Jung says 90% of our shadows are actually our inner gold. And that's completely true. And that's why I love it so much, because when you start realizing that everything, God, you just have complete power over your life again. But when you idolize and pedestal people, what in them, maybe they're just really confident. What in them is your own untapped potential. And that's an amazing thing to recognize. Oh, I love this person because they're so confident, they're so loud, they're authentic, they do them. Hey, that's also inside of you. Are you going to choose to step into it? And then you can do shadow work around that. So I think it's amazing, right? It's always mirroring what's either not touched within us or that we reject or any of that sort of stuff. It's incredible.
Have you noticed a shift at the moment? When I didn't say a shift, end of last year, I was very big into healing myself, doing the work kind of thing. But I feel like I'm almost a little bit resistant to healing now. I almost feel like we've just shifted into a new phase of our lives where we're not looking at necessarily healing as a whole, but we're looking more at our higher identity, who we're becoming, rather than, oh, I need to look at this because it needs healing or that needs sorting out. We're looking now, I feel like, who do I want to be? And then shifting into them kind of embodying things like trust, faith, embodying courage, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know what you mean. I think I ebb and flow with healing and wanting to heal. I don't really love the word healing either. I need to heal it. For me, it insinuates that something is wrong and something needs to change within me. And whilst, yes, it's true, maybe I reject it a little bit. Maybe that's suggestive. But for me, I'm not here to heal. I'm here to transform. And I love the healing space for a lot of the stuff that it does. But I think the healing space often stops at a certain point where then you're not transforming, you're not stepping into your higher self. You might believe you are, but you're avoiding the harder parts of life and that are within you that actually allow you to transform and allow you to be that higher self, that allow you to handle rejection and take accountability when you've hurt somebody and step into truth and integrity and own up to your shit, really. And I find that's very difficult to do and communicate effectively without jumping to defense. And yeah, I would say I'm not even on a healing journey anymore. I'm just stepping into who I want to become. And that person is someone who takes self-accountability, who is aiming to be integral and authentic and honest and kind and not people please. And to do that, I have to look at the shadows. If I want to be authentic, I have to look there. Yeah, I feel you with that, with the kind of stepping away from healing, perhaps. I more go towards now transforming.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. It's also, so like I've done 94 episodes as this one will be. And I've done, I did during COVID, I did start a podcast, never uploaded it. And I did 84 episodes then. But my realization is that even though you do this thing again and again, there's still underlying emotion, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say traumas, anxiousness and fear and all this stuff underneath the surface. And even though you do it again and again, your natural intellectual thinking is, I've done that many times, I should be courageous, I should be having it like that, it should be like perfect. But that's not life. That's not everyday life. Everyday life is still engaging and being with these parts, even though I might have done like 200 episodes.
Absolutely. And I just love that. And I'm smiling when you're saying that because all I can think is, the joy of being human. The joy of just experiencing that full humanness. Yeah, we're going to feel afraid and scared and fearful. And what if people reject me? And what if they judge me? And, I have done this, but what if I forget? And I just think that's such a beautiful part of our humanity that does bring us to our humanness and is how you connect with other people. Like, I love seeing people who are just absolutely out there. And when someone I find so confident comes onto the stage and goes, hey, I'm absolutely bricking it right now, I'm like, a human, I love you, I feel you, I get it. I've been there. I can relate to it because you're a human. And I just think it's such a joy. It's such a joy to just jump in and out of all of those emotions and also feel the fear and do it anyway. Something I did last year was I had so many what ifs come up for me. I shaved my head. I was like, what if people judged me? What if they say this? What if they do that? And I thought, all right, do it then. Become comfortable in that discomfort. I grew up my body hair because I was like, I'm insecure. People might think this or whatever. Cool. Get comfortable with it. Because when I start loving myself and when I free myself from my judgments, that's all that matters because people are always going to judge. I judge. We all judge. It's a normal part of life. It's evolutionary. We all judge. If you can free yourself from your own judgment as best you can, or if you can feel it and step into it anyway, amazing. There you go, the path to freedom.
Definitely. It's powerful just doing it. And even though it's difficult, it's like I was saying earlier about the website, and I took the jump with getting this guy. And initially beforehand, I was just going from one thing to another thinking, should I go over, should I not? But then I tuned in with trust.
Yeah.
And it was like, just go.
Yeah.
What's your idea of trust? Just out of interest.
Yeah, I think number one, again, somatics helps so much because you have to have that relationship with your body to know what that feels like. I think sometimes people can get confused. It's such a massive topic, but if you are, for example, so used to living in somewhere that's not safe for you, right? Sometimes if you're not aware of your body, you'll go for the unsafe things because you're used to it. So it feels safe, but it's not safe, right? So I think this is where you have to build the relationship with your body to discern, oh, this is actually, my body completely trusting it. And this is my body going, absolutely not. Right. Or this is my body going, I'm a bit scared, but underlying, I know this is right for me. And the opposite. Right. So for me, I spent years building that relationship and learning to trust. I had a lot of trauma surrounding males, and that's still something that I'm learning in my body to be like, oof, what's a response to trauma and what is just maybe a little bit of discomfort because I don't know the situation. So trust is built and earned both with other people and within yourself as well, for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. When I tune into trust in the body, it's at the moment, it's next to the belly button.
Yeah.
But so if I want to make a decision, I would tune into that part of the body wherever I feel it. And so it's almost embodying it.
Yeah.
And if you trust yourself, then nothing else matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine's I always do this because it's how I explain it, but it's just like a solid knowing from, my womb up to my heart. It's, this is right. And even if the protective mechanisms come over, anxiety, blah, blah, I'll always feel that knowing and I'll know that it's the right thing to do. So again, tuning into your body, like you said, it's that relationship you have with your body, isn't it?
And that creates that connection.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What about devotion?
Yeah, that's it. I feel that in my heart. And the things that I feel devoted to, it's so funny because it's not necessarily people. It's like my practices and things like shadow work. It's my life journey. I'm like devoted. And I almost have an all in feeling, heart opening, leaning forward. And again, it's what you have to tune into. And I also wonder, this is just what comes to my head, like how many people do feel that feeling of devotion? Right? I have so many questions around devotion, unconditional love. They're all things that I'm like, what does that even mean? Do people feel that? What's going on? So yeah.
I feel it just,
Yeah.
and it's quite big, I feel like takes quite a lot of space. And trust is almost an underlying my body kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've got faith on the shoulders in a big way.
Yeah.
So it's just the thing, it's when we start to take ourselves from being numb in our body or not even understanding what all this means, we're able to connect with a deeper wisdom. And when we connect that deeper wisdom, there's this level of exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. You just completely change how you show up in the world for yourself, to other people, family members, relationships. I honestly always think like you can do whatever healing work you want. Somatics for me, it's so important because you need to understand your body. You need to know how it works. You need to be able to connect to these different feelings and emotions and allow them to be, because it should be the way of life. And I think that connection is so important. And that's also why I believe that we have been almost divorced from it since such a young age. We're told, even, I always think about it when children are eating their food and they're like, oh, I'm full. I know some children are just like, refuse. But when a child is actually full, I remember for myself, when a child is actually full and you're told, keep eating, like, no, you have to finish what's on your plate. You're essentially being told, no, ignore what your body's telling you and eat more. Keep going. And the same with gymnastics. And there's so many subtle ways that we're told to disconnect from our body and ignore what it's saying. But it's a little bit scary. And so I think it's imperative for people to question that and be like, actually, I need to start understanding what's going on and making my own choices about my body.
Yeah. It's being seen and not heard.
Yeah. Being seen and not heard. I've had that. I've had this so often in my life. I'm such a loud person. And I get so happy and excited and I'm like, wow. And people always say, God, you'll hear Millie before you see her. And I used to be ashamed about that. I used to feel really ashamed about it. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck off. Yeah, I am joyful. I enjoy being alive. And it's one of my superpowers. gone from a shadow, shamed. Oh, actually, let me harness this. And now it's a superpower for me. So it's crazy.
Can you tell us, what is it that you do and how can people get in contact?
Yeah. So I weave together, like I said before, the stuff that I have dived into on my journey: somatics, shadow work, Reiki, earth-based stuff. These are all, the things that I'm devoted to. It's my life path. I always say to people, I want to work with people who want to actually do the work and who are ready to do that work, and who are just, instead of, learning how to just regulate themselves, are actually on a path to becoming alive again, right? To becoming playful and joyful. For me, that's regulated is when you find the joy and beauty in life. So people can find me. My business is at The Free Soma. Facebook, Instagram, I'm on both of those platforms. Or email. I don't know if people email nowadays, but that's millie@thefreesoma.com. I'm assuming people do. So that's where you'll find me. On Instagram, I just share my journey, the things that I've learned, my beliefs, my values, and I really just say it as it is. And I really love doing that. So I feel like I have a lot of my wisdom is just shared on my Instagram, and a lot of how I am in my work, which is very playful and joyful and loud and just accepting of all of these parts, even the parts that you maybe don't like. So yeah, that's the work I do, and that's how you can find me.
Thank you very much, Millie.
You're all good. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If something in today's conversation resonated, take a moment to sit with it. And if you feel called, share this episode with someone who might need it too. You Matter, I Matter is a growing space. And if you'd like to stay connected, you're welcome to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps this work to reach people it's meant for. These conversations matter. You matter, I matter. Until next time, take care of yourself and the relationships in your life.